Tensions between Washington and Tehran are escalating, and now the war of words is turning personal. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham has publicly mocked Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, dismissing his recent military threats as nuclear negotiations between the two countries hang in the balance. In a post on X, Khamenei warned about U.S. warships moving towards Iran. While calling the vessels dangerous pieces of military hardware, he added that what's even more dangerous is the weapon that can send that warship to the bottom of the sea. Graham fired back a day later with a biting response. Quoting a line from the 1969 Western, True Grit, the South Carolina senator wrote, "Bold talk for a one-eyed fat man." He then added, "See you at the movies. Oh, I forgot, you don't have movies." The remarks mark a sharp escalation in rhetoric. Just days earlier at the Munich Security Conference, Graham compared Iran's leadership to Hitler and openly called for regime change, as well as potential strikes on Iranian infrastructure.
They're the weakest they've been since 1979. It is a regime with American blood on its hand. It is a great disruptor of the region. It's a religious theocracy that if they could get a nuclear weapon, they would use it to advance their religious goals, which are three: purify Islam, destroy the Jewish state, and come after us. Hitler wrote a book. He wanted to kill all the Jews. Nobody believed him. I believe the Ayatollah and his regime, not the Iranian people, are religious fanatics, religious Nazis. Hitler wanted a master race. They want a master religion. So why not I mention that? There's no negotiating with these people, in my view. They're hell-bent on enacting an agenda based on religion that teaches them to lie, teaches them to destroy in the name of God. So President Trump said something that's going to be the best thing he ever said, or maybe the worst thing he ever said. When asked, what should the protesters do? Keep protesting. Now, that came from a man who genuinely believed that. That wasn't a calculated response. Ronald Reagan went to the Berlin Wall, and we still talk about it. He didn't say, do you mind lowering it? He said, tear it down. He was clear. He was concise. So President Trump gave an answer, keep protesting, help is on the way. And a couple of days later, he said, it's time for new leadership in Iran because the Ayatollah and his crowd, they're bad guys, they're terrible guys. You put all three of those statements together, then what do you have? You have a president standing with the people. What do the people want? They want the oppression to end. They want to start over with a new Iran. So here's what I would say.
Are you backing regime change?
Yeah, totally. If you're not, you're crazy.
Military regime change.
Yeah. I'm backing the people who want a country they can live in without having their daughter killed because she.
But I'm trying to figure out, because there's a huge flotilla in the Arabian Sea that President Trump is using as a negotiating tactic. Yeah. He's just said, as you heard me say, that he would prefer negotiating.
I prefer negotiation too. Let me finish my thought.
Okay.
If we back out now, it'll be the biggest mistake we've made, far worse than the Syrian red line, far worse than Afghanistan. You can't say, keep protesting, we got you back, help's on the way, and nothing happened. That's why I am confident that President Trump will get an outcome consistent with those three statements through diplomacy or military force. Let me just say this. Any deal about Iran has to come to the Senate. I'm not going to bless a bad deal. They're not out in the street because of limiting the nuclear ambitions of the Ayatollah. They're out in the street because life is miserable. People can't have a decent quality life. They live in fear, and most Iranians have had it. They'd like a new start. The day after.
Okay.
Well, if the Ayatollah goes down, we'll work on the day after. I think we'll have a better chance of hanging friends with the protesters than the Ayatollah. Here's the day after I worry the most about. The day after we blinked. The day after we made promises that we didn't keep. We made assurances that fell short. That day after is generational damage. Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, they don't go away. They come back stronger. The Arabs go back into their corner, and the people who've been protesting will be systematically destroyed. The day after, if we get it right, the mothership of terrorism goes down. Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah, they've lost their biggest benefactor. Saudi, Israel is the most likely outcome. So I'll end with this. I've never seen a more consequential time in history as right now. If we can take this regime down through the people, their desires, not ours, and replace it with a friend, not a foe, be the biggest change in 1,000 years. If we don't get it right and we blink, it'll be the biggest change in 1,000 years in the wrong way.
Meanwhile, reports in U.S. media suggest the Pentagon has informed President Donald Trump that it is prepared to carry out military strikes on Iran, possibly within days, should diplomacy collapse. According to those reports, options presented include a prolonged air campaign targeting senior political and military figures, though Trump has not made any final decision. On Thursday, Trump himself issued an ultimatum to Iran, asking to either make a meaningful nuclear deal or suffer very bad consequences.
The B-2 bombers are incredible. I never understood the B-2 bomber. I'd watch, it's a wing. And I've never quite understood that, Johnny. I'd look at it, I'd say it was beautiful, but what does it do? It carries very big bombs. And it went into Iran, and it totally decimated the nuclear potential. And when it decimated that, all of a sudden we had peace in the Middle East, because there was a black cloud hanging over the Middle East, and if that wasn't done, that cloud would have been there. And countries like Saudi Arabia, countries like Qatar, countries like, nobody could have signed. You would have had that threat. You couldn't have had peace in the Middle East. So now we may have to take it a step further, or we may not. Maybe we're going to make a deal. You're going to be finding out over the next probably 10 days. All of these countries are working together around the vision of a Middle East that is free from the curse of extremism and terror. And now is time. And by the way, even people with extremism and preaching extremism, they're exhausted. They're tired. It's been going on for too many years. I don't care who you are. They're tired. They want peace. And now is the time for Iran to join us on a path that will complete what we're doing. And if they join us, that'll be great. If they don't join us, that'll be great too. But it'll be a very different path. They cannot continue to threaten the stability of the entire region, and they must make a deal. Or if that doesn't happen, I maybe can understand. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But bad things will happen if it doesn't. With the commitments announced today, the Board of Peace is proving that it does not just convene countries. It devises and implements, and real solutions happen. We've come up with solutions. This is so little talk. This is very little talk, all action. First time, it was always talk in the Middle East. People would talk about peace in the Middle East, and then they'd go home and they'd never even think about it again. Nothing would happen. We're providing a model for how responsible sovereign nations can cooperate to take responsibility for confronting problems in their own regions. The Board of Peace is showing how a better future can be built, starting right here in this room. And I want to let you know that the United States is going to make a contribution of $10 billion to the Board of Peace.
The United States has already strengthened its military presence in the region. The U.S. Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group is operating in the Middle East, while the USS Gerald R. Ford and additional fighter jets are reportedly en route. All of this comes as Washington and Tehran continue nuclear negotiations in Geneva. The U.S. is pushing for a deal that would eliminate Iran's ability to enrich uranium. Iran insists it has the right to peaceful enrichment under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. The White House says diplomacy remains its first option, but warns Tehran would be very wise to make a deal. Russia is urging restraint, calling the tensions unprecedented and pressing for political solutions over military action. For now, diplomacy and deterrence are running side by side, but the stakes have rarely been higher.